Hello, good morning. This is Makana or Siren M here, and I'm doing a reading for us today for the new year. We have the Fairy Oracle cards, which we'll be working with, as well as the Wisdom of Avalon deck, and we have the Yeager Tarot. So I'm going to mix the Oracle and the Tarot, and we're going to find out about our finances, our sex life, romance, and we're going to find out about our spiritual health. So the first card is going to be about our spiritual health and what we need to unblock or focus on for 2023. Happy 2023, y'all. Okay, so this is your first card, Stand Your Ground. So when we're dealing with boundaries, we need to remember that even our spiritual life has boundaries, that sometimes someone might put a belief onto us that isn't our own, and it could relate to other areas of our life, such as like our relationships or our work. But if there's a seed of that connects to your spirituality, it needs to be acknowledged in order for that boundary to be honored and respected. So you can say, I understand that's your belief, but I have a different belief. This is my belief. So please don't assume about my belief system. Please don't project onto me what you feel or desire is to be true, because I have a different perspective. So stand your ground in realms of spiritual health. This could also mean that you need to take a step up and take a stand for your spiritual life. Maybe you've been neglecting it. Maybe you've been letting things slide. You haven't been meditating as much, or you haven't been connecting to yourself very much. So now we have finances, and look what showed up, the cat. So this is also a card dealing with boundaries. The words on the card are independence and healthy boundaries, and we always know that cats are very good at asserting this. You can see even in their eyes, there's that fire. It's just ready to come out. And what I love about the cat card is that it shows a little bit of like a vine. So like vines also, it's like the cat's claw vine actually. So you can see the leaves and the tendrils. So it's a very hardy vine that grows these really sharp little thorns, and it protects the plant. So just like the cat has these claws that protects them. So if someone is stepping in a realm that is your financial well-being, such as if you're experiencing others trying to over overindulge at your expense. Maybe you go to a restaurant and you order some food, and they say, oh, let's just split the check, but then you notice they get 2 alcoholic drinks and you only get a juice, and they get 2 appetizers which you barely touch as you didn't want them, and then they get the steak or the biggest entree, and then at the end they're like, do you want to order dessert? Let's order dessert. And they order dessert, and you're like, I don't really want dessert. And they're like, oh, you'll have some. And then when they're like, oh, let's see, it looks like that's half, and do a tip and tax, your share is this. And um, I'm just using this example because it's literally happened to me. So sometimes it's just good to just keep your own score and just say, hey, this is my share and that's your share. So you can pay that, and this is mine to deal with. I also think that generosity is good. It's just that it's important to communicate clearly what is a boundary for you. So if you feel like someone has overstepped, then just bring it to conversation. It doesn't have to turn combative. This is the wisdom of the I Ching and the art of war that I've been incorporating into some of my reads lately, is a philosophy that the the best way to win a battle is without any bloodshed or any real combat. So if you can win a battle through persuasion, through communication, if you can win a battle through coming to understanding, coming to the table with understanding and negotiating in a way that's a win-win for everybody. That's everybody's preference, right? So when someone says, "Hey, let's split," but you're having that feeling come up to your mind like, "Oh, is this what I want?" Just maybe clarify like, "Hey, so I'm actually on a super tight budget and this restaurant seems a little out of my range. So I'm probably only gonna get like a side dish. So I'm just gonna take care of my portion." And then that's it. That's clear. You don't have to be a buzzkill, and it's much easier to make that negotiation before the bill is placed on the table. So just knowing and acknowledging your boundaries in the realms of finances and what you're okay with spending. Also looking at your own spending, setting boundaries and limits on yourself. Like, what am I allowing myself to indulge in? Is this a healthy indulgence? Is this just fulfill this kind of impulse or desire in the moment, but is it not really a long lasting fulfillment that this expense is tapping for me? Is it draining me? Is it somehow over exhausting what I really need to be conserving? So if you're having trouble saving, and you don't want to feel like you're depleting yourself, you don't want to feel like you're denying or depriving yourself either, then I suggest look at what really gives you reward and fulfillment, and like what really, looking back on the last year, you really remember standing out as being like a rewarding moment. Like maybe, yeah, you have good memories of going to brunch with friends. I keep mentioning restaurants and I'm clearly hungry. So you remember going to brunch with friends, but maybe the most memorable part was just sitting outside and having a fresh glass of orange juice, and you don't even remember what you ate. So you could organize a picnic with some friends on the next sunny day, even if it's like cold out. Hey, let's have a winter picnic. Let's bring some like hot cider and let's bring some warm food and some like, hot containers, and we'll just eat really quickly, and then we'll go to a coffee shop and we'll warm up, or we'll go to a yoga class, or whatever. Maybe yoga right after brunch isn't like the best for the tummy, but just make a plan, or we can like eat on my porch and then like move inside and get higgy with candles and blankets afterwards and have a little mulled wine or something. So just finding a way to create that experience that is also friendly on your budget. So setting those healthy boundaries for yourself will give you more independence and will allow you to choose more freely the things that you enjoy, because you can choose them without a sense of guilt or a sense of worry or a sense of, ooh, is this gonna undo me somehow? So this next card is about um, the realm of sexuality and relationship, and we have the Five of Cups reversed. So that indicates to me a kind of depletion going on. Like there's a desire for fulfillment, mostly is what we're seeing in this card. You can see even this little like ring of stars coming up. So it's like we want to bring things full circle. You can even see there's like a little moon there. Things come in cycles. This is not a cycle of like absolute fulfillment. There's something missing. Like maybe you are having some sense of fulfillment, but it's not complete. Like maybe you've been chatting with someone online or long distance. Maybe you've been talking to a friend who you secretly feel like, oh, maybe someday we'd be good as more than friends, but I really like being their friend, so I don't want to mess that up. Or maybe you're having a kind of like a closeness to spirit, but you're not really able to devote yourself. Like you've been feeling like, oh, I want to open up to spirit and focus on that relationship in my life and have that relationship fulfill me almost like a lover, but like I'm not making time for it. So just solidifying for yourself what you do want. And I recommend writing it out really clearly, like writing out the qualities and the needs that you're hoping can be met in relationship, but also acknowledging what needs you can meet for yourself and what needs can be met elsewhere. So that way, instead of focusing on what's been depleted or empty, you can actually focus on how can I get these needs met. Another really great wisdom that comes from Deepak Chopra is that when you're feeling like that sense of emptiness, longing for someone, you can be the person that you are desiring, longing for. So, what I think he is getting at is, and I forget his exact words. Please leave it in the chat if it comes to you, or I will. But when you are meeting your own needs in a way that you're fulfilling your emotional reserves, for instance, you're not feeling that sense of need and that sense of longing or anguish, you can actually show up to the table with so much more to offer when you do have that exciting person on the periphery. When the date does start to go well, instead of feeling like, oh, now I have this panic because it went well and I gotta make sure they see me again and what can I do, what can I wear. You don't have to be in that mode. You can actually be in a mode of like, wow, I've been taking such good care of myself, and this is just adding to my already filled cup. So then what can I offer this person that will fill their cup a little more because they filled my cup a little more. So how can I keep that sense of exchange going in a positive way, instead of coming from a place of emptiness where you're trying to seek and fill. It's really only going to continue that sense of a vortex that's just like a bottomless um, black hole that's just like sucking up all the light. Like you certainly met that person who sucks up all the light in the room, and they're just like, they need so much. They need to be seen, they need to be experienced, and they need to be desired, and they need to be flattered, and they need to be assured, and it's like, this is exhausting, right? So when you're coming to the table and your cup is full because you've been like working with yourself and finding ways, and I notice there's 5 cups here, so I'm also equating that with the 5 senses. So engaging with all your senses, right? Mindfully being present with yourself, checking in with yourself. What do I need in this moment? And maybe what you're longing for isn't really this like other, but like a really nourishing time, um, a really nourishing experience, a walk in the forest, a delicious, lovingly prepared breakfast that you make for yourself, a night with candles and incense and a bubble bath and a glass of wine and a coming home to yourself where you're like, hey, I'm good with me. I like me. I like this time that I get to share with myself, that this is valuable time. This is something that I treasure. You can actually start to savor good experiences, and bringing more in of what you want is always the remedy to the sense of negativity. So instead of growing that sense of negativity with anxiety, with attachment, with unquenchable thirst, we can find, well, what's available to me, or what is my intuition even guiding me to do? Like maybe I'm guided to learn a new skill, and this skill could be like astrology, and because I'm learning about astrology, I start having new conversations with people. And when I hear someone talking about astrology in the bookstore, I chime in, or at the coffee shop I say, oh, I'm a Scorpio moon too, or you just share what pops up for you, and to see how others respond to that sense of like, I have something to share, I have something to offer, and I'm I'm also generously giving you my presence, instead of like, I'm only giving you my attention so I can get something back, right? That's a very different place to come from. So I know I'm going on this a long time, but I feel like it's so prevalent in our culture. I feel like pop music, even, like, it's constantly echoing these phrases of like, oh, I'm so empty, and you abandoned me, and I'll never find happiness, I'll never find joy. And I just don't think that that's really true. I think you have those moments, and that song clearly came to that someone from that moment. But I don't think that's like every hour of existence. I don't think it needs to be anyway, because I really think that there are beautiful moments in life that we're missing out when we're just honing in too much on what is external. So these two cards too, because they're so much about independence and so much about boundaries. In order to know what your boundaries are, you need to spend time with yourself. You need to listen to yourself. You need to check in and say, hey, what's my favorite color? Is it blue? I really want to dye my hair blue. And look, you can do that. Um, I swear I wasn't inspired by this card, but maybe secretly I was. So this is one of my favorite cards in this deck. You can see her wand. She's got a beautiful crystal. Like, I love handmade crystal gifts. So maybe that's something that I can learn about. And maybe I also really like protecting the crystals of the world. So maybe I don't want to over harvest a crystal. Maybe I want to trade a crystal instead of buying one. So like finding out what is even the boundary of the earth that's trying to speak to you. I know that's like a little abstract, but I like to think of the earth as like a mother, a living being who has her own needs, desires, and wants. And if we can listen, if we can take time to develop that relationship, that we can start to hear what wonderful messages she has for us. I've been carrying around this little stone, and I just feel like it's really trying to tell me something about grounding and anchoring, and yeah, finding some sense of warmth in myself. So the cat, again, just to reiterate, you have claws. You don't always have to use them. Just knowing that you have them is really valuable, right? So if someone crosses a line, that's when you feel that anger surging in you. When you feel that boundary already crossed, and when you don't speak up about it, this only increases, right? So instead of needing to go into combat and possibly damaging the thing you're fighting over, like maybe you're fighting about fairness in your relationship, like your friendship or romantic relationship or work or finances, rather than have that sense of um, boundary crossing become um, so upsetting, so violated in you, you can start to put in place those boundaries and those protective mechanisms so that you actually don't even have to worry about it. So noticing which friends like to overspend and just politely declining those invitations, or making a counter offer for something that is more appropriate for your financial life. Noticing when work tries to ask things from you, but they don't want to compensate you. Notice how you value your time. Are you valuing your time adequately? Every time work asks more of you, that's your time to say, and I would like a raise. So that's the prompting there. Every time you start to get more responsibility but are promised something and it doesn't show up, that's called breadcrumbing. So just be aware of that and keep your boundaries strong, and you don't have to fall for that little kind of like a Baba Yaga trick, isn't it? Don't go into the candy oven. It's bad news. It's bad news. Don't eat the candy house. It's nice to appreciate from afar, but when we overindulge and we don't honor our own boundaries, the candy house can make us feel sick, and we can end up um, a little bit stuck, can't we? And we can really regret our actions. I'm making all kinds of wild metaphors today. Okay, I think it's time I have my breakfast before I need a damn candy house. So much love to y'all. Have a happy new year. Ciao.